So if you're still arriving, just take some time with the prompts on the screen. We're going to let the transition or the border between before this presentation and the presentation itself to be a little bit blurry. So just give yourself time to arrive and be in the experience. Sorry, here I am. Welcome. I just want to briefly introduce the translator for the session, Jisei. Oh, there you are. So make sure video's on. And I'm going to do some more introductions in a moment, but I just have to get my PowerPoint back. So hold on one second.
Vamos a hacer introducciones brevemente en un momento.
So this is the session on art. And as you can see on the screen, Professor Bill Naricchio, Jisei Muniz-Stengel, and I will be presenting. And I'll let you translate that, Jisei, while I get ready for the next.
Esta es la presentación de arte y como pueden ver en la pantalla está Bill Naricchio, profesor de inglés y literatura comparativa, Jess Humphrey, profesora asociada de danza, y Jisei Muniz-Stengel, bailarina y estudiante de terapia craneosacral.
And translator, did you say that too? You're doing all of that.
Y la que traduce.
Yeah, thank you, Jisei. So I'm just giving a brief introduction to the full session as facilitator, and then I'll go into presentation mode after that. But I want to just say that the language of the arts is often metaphor, it's non-linear, it can be meandering and mysterious and indirect.
Antes de empezar con la presentación, Jess quisiera aclarar que el lenguaje del arte es un lenguaje que a veces puede ser metafórico, a veces puede ser misterioso y no lineal.
So the suggestion is to let yourself get a little lost, to not know exactly what connections this work will have with the exact topics of the conference right away, and that they might come to you later through a more nonlinear and creative process.
Entonces, la invitación es que te permitas perderte un poco con la información. A veces lo que recibes tal vez no va a tener mucho sentido en ese momento, pero tal vez en algún otro momento va a hacer clic.
And so we're going to have some images, many words in two languages, and then communicating through our bodies also, which is another language. And there will be some body-mind meditations that Jisei and I will guide. And Jisei and I will also perform. We'll do some dancing. We're going to ask you to be in your own sensory experience. And Bill will also have a really cool presentation with a lot of strong and beautiful and ordinary images. So there'll be a lot of different kinds of information, different ways of conveying information throughout.
Va a haber diferentes tipos de información, van a haber muchas imágenes, van a haber palabras, van a haber maneras de comunicar con el cuerpo. Jess y yo vamos a hacer un pequeño performance, una pequeña demostración de una pieza. Y también van a haber unos ejercicios de cuerpo y mente en donde se les será invitados a que participen. Y también hay una presentación muy interesante por parte de Bill.
And maybe you could feel it at the beginning, but we are privileging slowing down in this process. There's so much speed in our daily lives, and we're privileging slowing down and coming into our bodies and sensory experience, and also the non-ordinary ways of seeing the world and the arts in order to maybe expand our ideas about what health and healing even are, and what mental health even is, and what borders even are. So that's part of the purpose of slowing down, to allow some of that to happen rather than trying to make it happen.
Tal vez ya lo has notado, pero estamos priorizando el ir lento, la quietud. Creemos que sobre todo en estos tiempos en donde somos pedidos que nos movamos rápido, el bajar el ritmo puede ser muy sanador. Entonces, sobre todo cuando estamos abordando preguntas sobre fronteras y qué es la salud, creo que permitirnos tener un tiempo para parar y tratar de entender en vez de tratar de solucionar o llegar directamente a un lugar es muy saludable.
So we're going to just begin with a short practice. So if you're able to bring your hands together.
Vamos a empezar con una pequeña práctica y si puedes poner tus palmas juntas y frotar.
Maybe a little faster than is easy. So you give make your body have a little effort.
Tal vez un poquito más rápido de lo que tu cuerpo podría estar acostumbrado o lo que crees que puedes para que haya un poco de esfuerzo.
If you don't have use of your hands or only one hand, you could use one hand or any kind of back and forth movement that you can do in your body.
Si tus manos no son accesibles o solo tienes acceso a una mano, puedes con un lado o hacer un tipo de vibración con tu cuerpo.
And then with that, you can feel what's happening between your hands for a moment or between other parts of your body.
Y con esta sensación solo puedes notar lo que está sucediendo en tu cuerpo en este momento y en otras partes de tu cuerpo.
And then you're going to cup your eyes to let your eyes rest from the light.
Vamos a tapar nuestros ojos con nuestras manos o solo cerrar tus ojos para cubrir la luz que entra del sol.
And how eyes closed is one way of seeing.
Como el cerrar los ojos es una manera de observar, de mirar.
Rest your hands, but keep your eyes closed.
Y descansa tus manos, pero mantén tus ojos cerrados.
And see how there is still something to see. You can see the light and different shades of light.
Y mira que todavía hay algo que se puede ver y es la luz, diferentes tipos de luz.
And then turn your head so you're not facing the screen.
Voltea tu cabeza a otro lugar para que no estés viendo la pantalla.
And let your eyes gently open so that you have a soft focus.
Y deja que tus ojos se abran lentamente y gentilmente.
And let your eyes move around the space.
Y permite que tus ojos se muevan en el espacio.
And see if you can soften your eyes so that you receive the images. So what you see comes to you instead of you having to reach out and see with your eyes.
Y permite que tu mirada se suavice para que la imagen llegue a ti. en vez de tú tratar de alcanzar la imagen.
And then look in places you wouldn't normally look, down on the floor, all the way behind you, above you, so that your body has to move to see something different.
Y mira en lugares en los que normalmente no observarías, detrás de ti, en el piso, y permite que tu cuerpo acompañe tu mirada y se mueva también.
Soft eyes.
Ojos suaves, mirada suave.
And then you can come back to the screen. And now when you're looking at the screen, see if you can look at your periphery. So see how much you can see outside of the screen. I might look a little funny doing it, but the idea is to soften and see your periphery.
Y regresa tus ojos a la pantalla, pero trata de ver alrededor de ti, no nada más enfocar en la pantalla, sino ver lo que hay también alrededor de la pantalla.
And then finally, this is the silliest maybe, but you're going to make a circle with your eyes. So my head is relatively still, and I'm going to go up and circle around to the right, all the way around. See if you can make the circle really smooth.
Y tal vez este es el más divertido, pero vamos a hacer círculos con los ojos. La cabeza se mueve muy poco y hacemos círculos viendo hacia abajo, hacia un lado, hacia arriba y hacia el otro lado.
And then the last thing is close your eyes once more and see if you can focus on the back of your body. If you're sitting, focus on your bottom on the seat and focus on the back of your body with your eyes closed.
Y el último ejercicio, vamos a cerrar los ojos y observa si puedes brindar tu atención a la parte trasera de tu cuerpo.
And then see if you can continue to feel the back of your body when you open your eyes and see the screen.
Y abre tus ojos y ve la pantalla y ve si puedes ver, si puedes seguir sintiendo la parte posterior de tu cuerpo.
So you may or may not feel like you're in a little more of a dreamlike state. And so I invite you to kind of cruise through the session in that state, if you're willing.
Ujú.
So I'd like to introduce Professor Bill Naricchio, who I've so enjoyed getting to know more in this process. Bill, you ready?
I'm asleep.
Sorry. Do you need me? Do you need me to give you an activating practice?
No, I'm good.
Okay, you're ready. Here, just go like this. This is a good one, though. If you get too relaxed in your meditation, you just snap around your head.
All right.
Voy a traducir esto poco. I'm just going to traduce this little bit, but puede ser que estés en un estado soñador y un estado suave, entonces la invitación es que abordes esta presentación desde ahí, pero si necesitas un poco más de activación, un buen ejercicio es solo dar pequeños chasquidos con tus dedos. Y vamos con la presentación de Bill.
All right. Is it showtime, Jess? Yes? All right. All right. I'm not going to go slow.
Ok, no va a ir despacio.
Slow's not my style.
Despacio no es su estilo.
I'm not at peace.
No está en paz.
If you're from the border, you're never really in peace.
Ujú. Si eres de la frontera, realmente nunca estás en un estado de paz.
You're actually in pieces.
De hecho, estás en pedazos.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna talk about a lot of people, show a lot of pictures. I'm Guillermo or William Naricchio de Laredo, Texas. Do you need to translate that?
Bill va a compartir muchas imágenes y va a hablar de mucha gente. Él es de Laredo, Texas.
And I'm going to start in the chat. I'm going to go fast towards the end, and I'll probably not give people the time they deserve. But I'm dropping a link, and anyone I mentioned during the talk, you should be able to see them.
Okay. Bill está poniendo un link en el chat y para que tú puedas ir y puedas checar de las personas que va a hablar en esta presentación.
All right. So we're looking on the screen at the work of J.R.
Estamos viendo en la pantalla el trabajo de J.R.,
A tagger, photographer, personality from Paris,
un fotógrafo, tagger y una personalidad de París,
who likes to go around the world, especially to immigrant communities, and do art.
que le gusta ir a comunidades inmigrantes y hacer arte.
So we're looking at a kid from Tecate
Estamos viendo a un niño de Tecate
y su nombre es Kikito. His name is Kikito. Y JR blew up his picture, a little 1-year-old kid, to the size of a giant billboard.
y JR puso la foto en un tamaño muy grande viendo hacia la frontera,
Looking over the border wall.
viendo hacia la frontera, el muro de la frontera.
I love his irony and his sense of humor.
Le encanta la ironía y el sentido del humor. de esta
There's
pieza.
no greater engine of surveillance than the Border Patrol.
No hay máquina más grande de supervivencia que la patrulla de la frontera.
Pero aquí tenemos un pequeño, un niñito que está viendo lo que está haciendo la migra. I'll translate that. Here we have a little kid surveilling the Border Patrol, Homeland Security, over that damn wall. And I love this image, and it crystallizes my feelings about the border.
Ujú. Y aquí tenemos a un niño viendo a la patrulla del otro lado.
I'll open.
Las experiencias de Bill.
Gracias.
Ujú.
My opening epigraph comes from the work of Carlitos Dickens.
Esta siguiente cita y que abre la presentación de Bill es de Charles Dickens.
It was the best of times, it was the worst of times.
Era los mejores de los tiempos y los peores de los tiempos.
It was the age of wisdom, it was the age of foolishness.
Era la era de la sabiduría, era la era de la diferencia de wisdom, de sabiduría.
Right. The season of light, the season of darkness.
Era la época de luz y era la época de la oscuridad.
And that's where we find ourselves when we talk about the border.
Y es ahí donde nos encontramos cuando hablamos de la frontera.
Never before have Latinos and Latinas, artists, intellectuals, writers, and poets been so much in the light, so much in demand.
Nunca antes habíamos tenido tanta gente, artistas y latinos y latinas en la luz.
But we've never had so much hate either.
Pero nunca habíamos tenido tanto odio tampoco.
We are living through the season of hate,
Estamos viviendo en la era del odio,
the season of a rising fascism,
la era del fascismo aumentando.
and the firewood for this hate, this fire, are Latino and Latina people.
Y la leña que aumenta el fuego para este odio hacia gente latine.
The previous administration used Latinos and Latinas as whipping boys, as billboards to spread hate throughout the Americas.
La administración pasada enseñó un gran odio hacia gente latina y los puso en un panorama de el que es flagelado.
So the name of this panel presentation is, the border on the verge.
Ujú. Entonces el nombre de esta presentación es La frontera en el borde.
Right. on the verge. I'm on the verge of a nervous breakdown
Yo estoy en el borde de una crisis nerviosa
because I'm from the border.
porque yo soy de la frontera.
I'm straight out of Laredo.
Es directamente de Laredo.
So I don't like to pick sides. I was born through some strange, ugly, who knows, sex act between Uncle Sam and the Mexican Eagle.
Entonces a él no le gusta tener que escoger un lugar o un lado. Él creció ahí.
Don't cut out the nasty parts. Gita. Don't worry about it.
Los
All right.
romances sexys entre el tío Sam y el otro lado de México.
All right. This talk I'm giving you is a version of a talk I gave as a keynote address in Laredo, Texas.
Could you repeat that again?
Yes,
Sorry.
yes. What I'm about to say, this presentation derives from a keynote speech I gave at an international conference in Laredo, Texas.
Esta presentación que va a dar es una presentación que viene de una presentación que Bill dio en Laredo, Texas.
Okay. Hold on. I have to be conscious of time. Okay. So my influences intellectually are strange.
Sus influencias intelectuales son un poco extrañas.
They include Michel Foucault from France
Incluyen a Michel Foucault de Francia
and Américo Paredes from South Texas.
y Américo Paredes del sur de Texas.
Through them, and my experience in the border, I've learned that the border is a mirror. La frontera es como un espejo.
A través de ellos y viviendo en la frontera, Bill aprendió que la frontera es un espejo.
So I'm going to show you some pictures from Laredo.
Bill va a mostrar unas fotografías de Laredo.
This is where it's at geographically.
Ahí es donde está geográficamente Laredo.
This is a picture I took at the border.
Es una fotografía que tomó en la frontera.
This is what you see is you're crossing the border into Nuevo Laredo, Mexico.
Lo que ves estás cruzando, es como se ve cuando cruzas la frontera en Nuevo Laredo, México.
And of course, the police have always been a part of the border.
Y por supuesto, la policía siempre ha sido parte de la frontera.
I love this picture from Laredo, 1952.
Me encanta esta foto de Laredo de 1952.
It was a different time.
Era una era diferente.
This is today. Esta es hoy.
Esta es hoy.
When you see the border on television, all you hear about are caravans and mobs of Latin Americans coming to the border.
Y esto es como se ve hoy. Cuando escuchas sobre la frontera en las noticias, lo primero que escuchas son caravanas y camionetas viniendo de México con gente latina a Estados Unidos.
I love that what they did in TJ.
Me encanta que lo que hicieron en Tijuana, TJ,
They stole the razor wire
se robaron los cables
and they used them to build protections for their own property.
y los usaron para construir protección para sus propias propiedades.
This was the Border Town Drive-In, which was a big part of my childhood in Laredo.
Este es el pueblo de la frontera en donde Bill creció como niño.
My field, what I write about is cultural studies, and I'm mainly concerned these days with film and streaming media.
El campo sobre lo que estudia Bill en estudios culturales es primariamente construido por medios como películas y
Streaming
media.
media, yeah.
Ujú.
I love it that in Laredo, if I come out in the newspaper, this was when I published one of my books, I come out as Billy Naricio, because that was my name growing up in Laredo.
Le encanta que cuando esta imagen es de una fotografía en una revista de cuando Bill presentó su libro y le encanta que su nombre en Laredo es Billy Nericio. Así es como era conocido ya.
Yeah, Nericio, always Nericio, now Nericho. This is the backyard of my suegra.
Este es el patio de atrás de la casa de su suegra.
About 10 blocks south of this, you'll find maybe some of those barbed wire.
Como 10 cuadras después de la casa, tal vez puedes encontrar unos de esos cables.
And the soldiers
Y los soldados.
and the border patrol.
Y la patrulla de la frontera.
But as you can see, it's just a house. It's just a backyard. It's a very pretty patio.
Pero como puedes ver, esto es solo una casa. Es solo una casa y con un patio muy bonito.
In Laredo, we're not in a war zone.
En Laredo no estamos en una zona de guerra.
Laredo is bourgeois.
Laredo es bourgeois.
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 Venta, venta, venga, venga. Sales, merchandise, trade. This is a wedding party that I went to for the children of some of my friends in Laredo.
Esta es una de las bodas que fue en uno de los amigos uno de los hijos de sus amigos en Laredo.
About a mile from the border.
Como una milla de la frontera.
This is La Posada Hotel.
Este es el Hotel La Posada.
A block from the border.
Una cuadra de la frontera.
No machine gun emplacements.
No armas. No armas
No.
en lugares.
No soldiers.
No soldados.
Just a really nice hotel.
Solo un hotel muy, muy bueno y muy cómodo.
This is the house that I grew up in.
Esta es la casa en la que yo crecí.
9 blocks from the border.
Como 9 cuadras de la frontera.
It's just a house. It's just,
Solo una casa.
yeah. In the past, Laredo was, had a lot of fancy people. Look at this woman with her dress. This is from 1902.
En el pasado, Laredo tenía gente muy elegante. Mira a esta mujer en su caballo con un vestido muy elegante. Esto es de hace tiempo.
And there were movie openings. This is from 1921, cinema openings that were so important, they got written about in Los Angeles in the Hollywood trade magazines.
Había aperturas de cine y eran muy importantes que también los podías ver en las revistas en Los Ángeles.
And Nuevo Laredo was Las Vegas, man.
Y Nuevo Laredo era Las Vegas.
It was hot. It's where everybody wanted to go party.
Era el lugar en donde todo el mundo quería ir a fiestar, a echar fiesta.
But that's kind of all over now.
Pero eso ya no existe.
Yeah. Children of Men, the science fiction movie really got it right.
La película Los Niños del Hombre realmente fue muy atinado.
We become a nation of cages.
Nos convertimos en una nación de jaulas.
Fear drives us to put our fellow humans into boxes.
El miedo nos lleva a poner a nuestros hermanos, los hombres, los humanos, en jaulas, en cajas.
The old and the young.
Los viejos y los nuevos.
But I don't want to focus today on these cages.
Pero no me quiero enfocar hoy en estas jaulas.
I want to focus on writers and artists that destroy this policed version of the border.
Me quiero enfocar en escritores y artistas que destruyeron esta visión de la frontera.
Okay. How much time do I have, Jess? What do you think? 5, 10, 4?
No, I think you have a lot more time than you think you do. So don't worry about it. You're totally good. We have a lot of flexibility. So please
Okay.
just go at the pace you're going at. It's wonderful. And I want to make time for questions and I
Okay.
want you to feel you can finish. So yeah,
So
go for it.
this is a book about the border,
Este es un libro de la frontera, sobre la frontera.
a book about corridos,
Un libro sobre corridos,
which are the opera of Texas,
que es la ópera de Texas,
with his pistol in his hand.
con la pistola en su mano.
The dissertation of Americo Paredes for the University of Texas at Austin.
La tesis de Américo
Ameri-
Paredes para la Universidad de Houston,
Texas, de Texas
Texas,
and Austin.
de Texas en Austin.
He knew his way around the guitar also. This is here Americo Paredes.
Este es Américo Paredes y él sabía su manera de tocar la guitarra.
This was his novel that stayed in a desk drawer for 45 years.
Esta es su novela que se quedó adentro de un cajón por 45 años.
Paredes was a contemporary of William Faulkner.
Paredes era un contemporáneo de William Faulkner.
Faulkner. If you have a chance, read George Washington Gomez. It will blow your mind. You'll never look at Texas the same again.
Si tienes la oportunidad de leer el libro George Washington Gómez, te lo recomiendo. No volverás a ver a Texas de la misma manera.
Our vision and our imagination is contaminated with stereotypes.
Nuestra visión y nuestra imaginación está llena de estereotipos.
I collect covers of magazines from the 30s and 40s.
Yo colecciono portadas de revistas de los 30 y 40.
Spicy Western Stories was one of the most popular magazines of the early 20th century.
Spicy Western Stories, Oeste Picante, las historias del Oeste Picante eran unas de las revistas más famosas.
I love that. Historias picante. And of course, the women in these spicy Western stories are usually undressed.
Y por supuesto que las mujeres en estas historias están poco vestidas.
And the Mexicans
Y las mexicanas
are up to no good.
no están, los mexicanos están en muy malos pasos.
Like our friend here who seems to have passed out and from drinking too much.
Como nuestro amigo aquí que parece que se desmayó por haber tomado mucho.
If we're not passing out from the booze,
Si no nos estamos desmayando de tomar tanto,
we're busting our ass shining shoes at the Four Seasons Hotel in New York.
estamos trabajando todo el tiempo en los hoteles como el Four Seasons, limpiando zapatos.
I love this advertisement from the 1990s.
Me encanta ese cartel de 1990.
Jose is a virtuoso at ensuring you always put your best foot forward.
José es un virtuoso y se asegurará que siempre te pongas el mejor pie adelante.
It's as if his existential being is committed to servitude.
Es como si su ser existencial está comprometido a la servitud.
The perfect kind of Mexican
El perfecto tipo de mexicano,
in the American imagination.
en la imaginación del americano.
Of course, sexually, we learned this from our last president. Mexicans are rapists.
Por supuesto, y aprendimos esto con el último presidente, los mexicanos son violadores.
I actually think that this particular cover from Spicy Western Stories is imprinted on the what little brain there is, but on the brain of Donald Trump.
De hecho, creo que esta justo portada de las historias Spicy Western fue impresa en el cerebro de Donald Trump.
Of course, that's underestimating him.
Por supuesto, eso es lo menos que podemos decir de él.
That's underestimating the power of fascism.
Eso es lo menos que podemos decir sobre el fascismo.
There's a whole history of Mexicans and Mexicans at war providing entertainment for American spectators.
Hay una gran historia de mexicanos haciendo espectáculo para los americanos
This
y
is
entreteniendo.
from the book Border Fury by Paul Vanderwood.
Este es el libro Furia de la Frontera por, could you repeat the name of the
Paul
author, please?
Vanderwood. Paul Vanderwood.
De Paul Vanderwood.
Here in Douglas, Arizona, Americans get up on a nice high place on a building so they can watch the Mexican Revolution unfold on the other side, like TV entertainment.
Aquí en Douglas, Arizona, puedes ver a la gente en el techo viendo la Revolución Mexicana desde arriba, como si fuera un entretenimiento.
This is my favorite
Esta es su favorita,
from the 1960s,
de los 1960.
Mexico After Dark.
México después de la oscuridad.
Okay, I'm gonna enjoy you translating this one. From pleasure palaces to homegrown drug orgies.
De palacios de placer a casas de orgías de drogas.
The Mexicans know how to add Latin spice to the good life.
Los mexicanos saben cómo añadir picante latino a la buena vida.
We know that these images have a cumulative effect on our public unconscious.
Sabemos que estas imágenes tienen un efecto acumulativo en la audiencia, en la
There's-
conciencia de la audiencia.
If there's one thing Americans are susceptible to, it's advertising.
Si hay una cosa a la que los americanos son susceptibles es publicidad.
So we need a solution.
Así que necesitamos una solución.
And my solution is something I call Mextasy.
Y mi solución es algo que llamo Mextasy.
I have a traveling art show.
Tengo un show de arte de viaje.
It's up right now in the old administration building here at SDSU.
Está ahorita en el edificio de la vieja administración en SDSU. SDSU.
And it's free.
Y es gratis.
Open 9 to 4, Monday through Friday.
Abre de 9 a 4 de lunes a viernes.
Mextasy, you know, comes from the word ecstasy.
Mextasy viene de la palabra éxtasis.
And Mextasy, the show, is about the pleasure of being Latino.
Y Mextasy habla del placer de ser latino.
I like to play with images.
A mí me gusta jugar con imágenes.
In my first book, Text Mex, I tried to reveal the backstory for the stereotypes that create Latino subjectivities in the United States.
En mi primer libro, Text Mex, hablaba de las imágenes que crearon estas subjetividades sobre la imagen de latino en los Estados Unidos.
In my next book, Brown TV, I've been trying to do more of the same.
En mi otro libro, Brown TV, estoy tratando de hacer lo mismo.
Talking hashtag Brown TV.
Hablando de hashtag Brown TV, televisión morena.
I would never have been able to write those books without the inspiration of artists like the following.
Nunca he podido escribir los libros que escribí sin la inspiración de los siguientes artistas.
the Chicano, the Latinx director, Alex Rivera.
Alex Rivera, el director Latinx.
His Sleep Dealer chronicles the future where the Americas will be at war over water and braceros will sell their work to the United States online.
Su película Sleep Dealer habla de que las Américas van a estar en guerra por agua y los braceros venderían su labor en línea.
The work of Miriam Gerba has blown my mind.
De Miriam Gerba ha impresionado la mente de Bill.
Her memoir, Mean, is one of the most disturbing and moving chronicles of creativity and violence I've ever read.
Su memorial Mean es uno de los más violentos y reales que ha leído.
Salvador Plasencia's The People of Paper is a novel on par with James Joyce's Dubliners.
Salvador Plasencia y su obra The People of Paper, La gente de papel, es una colaboración con George Saunders.
No, it's at the same level as Dubliners by James Joyce.
Está al mismo, no lo que dije anteriormente, pero está al nivel de Joyce, del trabajo de Joyce.
This is Isel Vargas.
Este es Isel Vargas.
He's from the lower Rio Grande Valley.
Él es del Valle de Río Grande.
I collect his art.
Yo colecto su arte. Colecciono su arte.
I own this painting.
Yo tengo esta pieza de arte.
Estados jodidos.
Estamos jodidos. Estados jodidos.
Estados, sí. The title of the work is a combination of the United States, Estados Unidos, and a very popular phrase among Mexicanos, estamos jodidos. Here we have los estados jodidos. And the icons he uses are remarkable.
La combinación del título de esta obra emblema el nombre de Estados Unidos como país y la frase mexicana muy famosa que es estamos jodidos.
This is Gustavo Arellano.
Este es Gustavo Arellano.
The author of Ask a Mexican.
El autor de Ask a Mexican, Pregúntale a un Mexicano.
And a very much in demand newspaper columnist now for the Los Angeles Times.
Y un columnista muy demandado de ahora Los Angeles Times.
Writers and artists and filmmakers like these allow us to expand our vision of the border.
Autores, directores y escritores les ayudó a visión de la frontera.
I'll end with a book by a Chicano and by a Mexicano.
Terminaré con un libro de un chicano y un mexicano.
I have the honor of being the director of San Diego State University Press.
Tengo el honor de ser el director de la prensa de la Universidad de San Diego State.
And this is one of our books.
Y este es uno de nuestros libros.
This is the photography of Antonio Turok.
Esta es la fotografía de Antonio Turok.
And I'll close my presentation with this moving image taken at the border in Tijuana, Mexico.
Y cerraré mi presentación con esta imagen tomada en la frontera en Tijuana, México.
I'm not entirely sure what it means,
No estoy muy seguro de lo que significa,
but I'm sure that it captures
pero estoy seguro que captura
the vibe,
la vibra,
the feel,
el sentir,
the melody
la melodía
of the US-Mexican border.
de la frontera de Estados Unidos y México.
Thank you very much.
Muchas gracias.
Bill, thank you. That last image was really powerful. Could have stayed with that for a while. Thanks for that. There's a few questions in the chat already. And so if anyone has any questions, you can put them in.
Si cualquiera tiene
wonder-
preguntas, puede ponerlas en el chat.
And so would you like me to read them, Jay? Or would you like to speak them out loud? I think I'll speak them then. So Jay says you update Carl Jung's idea and call public unconscious. Do you feel honest people's constitutions fight against these promoting to hate and visual scripts to hate Mexicans? Are you able to see the Q&A, Bill?
Yeah, it's in the Q&A.
Great.
It's not in the chat. It's in the Q&A.
Yep.
Do you want me to answer that now?
Yeah,
Jess?
you can do.
Oh.
Yeah, if you'd like to do the
do
Q&A
you-
now, that way it's. Oh, thanks, Noemi. Yeah, that way it's near your presentation. Yeah, sure.
Oh,
If you're
yes.
up for it. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, people do fight against the hate. These visual scripts are internalized at the level of the conscious. Of course, you experience it, you react viscerally, but they imprint us at the level of the unconscious. And Josue, you know that this is one of my graduate students who asked the question. You know that I'm more a Freudian than a Jungian, but I get it. Yeah, I do. The idea of a kind of public consciousness, though I'm closer to Frederick Jameson than to Jung in that regard. I was probably thinking more of Jameson. The second question, do you feel street artists and street style artists like Banksy and Isel Vargas's work challenge traditional asymmetrical US power relationships? How can someone keep supporting these types of works? Well, how do we support things in the here and now? We support them by tweeting them, by sharing them, actually becoming part of the corporate mechanism that then profits off our bodies. But if we don't become part of the continuum, then we are not part of a conversation that includes mass media. It's a damning question. It's a damning conundrum that I fight every day. Mextasy, my show, is kind of like a brand. I have, like Apple, like Google, and Mextasy.
So can you pause so that Jose can do some
Oh, I'm
translation of the
sorry.
response? That's okay. You got into it. It was so great. I couldn't even. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. That's totally okay. Bill, I can translate the next question because yeah.
Okay.
I wanna finish what you're saying. Yeah. Hear what you said.
Yeah. No, I'm done. We'll
Okay.
do the next question. Do you feel we carry these images and burdens in our bodies?
¿Crees que tenemos estos pesares y estas cargas de las imágenes en nuestros cuerpos?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sí, totalmente.
The questions that, at the beginning of this presentation, of this panel,
Al principio de esta presentación, de este panel,
you'd have to have a dead soul not to have been moved by the music that Jess was playing.
tuviste que haber tenido un alma muerta para no haber sentido algo con la música que Jess puso.
The same thing happens with these visual images that bombard us.
Lo mismo pasa con estas imágenes que nos bombardean.
They're like those hollow point bullets. They explode inside of us.
Son como esas balas que explotan adentro de nosotros.
And they have unforeseen effects on our psyche.
Y tienen resultados que no podemos ver en nuestra mente, en nuestra psicología.
And that's the trick of Mextasy.
Sí. Y ese es el truco de Mextasy.
How to use these images against themselves.
Cómo usar estas imágenes en contraposición a ellas mismas.
Can we use mass visual culture to inoculate Latinos against the self-loathing that's bound to happen in the middle of the United States?
Podemos controlar o contribuir a estas imágenes colectivas de media para corresponder a lo que está pasando con la imagen latina en los Estados Unidos.
Thank you for your questions.
Gracias por tus preguntas.
I think there's one more about street artists. Did you answer that one? In street style like Banksy and Isel Vargas's work? Did you see
Yeah,
that one?
I already answered it.
Oh, you did. Great. Okay. Sorry. Great. Thanks. Thanks, Phil.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're muted, Jess.
I want to give a really short practice before we even put the first slide up, if that's okay. And you can
Yes,
do it
vamos a
with
hacer
me.
una Yes, yes, vamos a hacer una pequeña práctica antes de empezar la presentación.
And you can do this one with me or not. It's up to you to say. And this is for everyone. I'm going to do something that might seem a little silly. And so I encourage you to do this if you're in a context where you can, or do some version of it. And if not, just viewing me do this practice can give you some of the benefits of it.
Ujú. Puedes escoger hacer esta práctica o puedes también escoger solo verla. Es algo que puede parecer un poco ingenuo y puede ser divertido, pero también si no te sientes cómoda haciéndolo, puedes solo observar y también vas a tener resultados.
And then another thing is that if you don't feel like you could do something like this, in a way, my doing it gives you permission to maybe try it in the future.
Ujú. Y otra cosa es que aunque sientas que no puedes hacer algo como esto, espero que el verme a mí hacerlo te dé permiso de a ti hacerlo en un futuro.
So it's a shaking practice. And so you can do it sitting or standing. I'm going to do it standing.
Ujú. Es una práctica de sacudir y vibrar y lo puedes hacer sentado o parado. Yo lo voy a hacer sentado. I'm going to do it seated and you can make it
Great.
standing.
Great. And so there's three ways of thinking about this. One is I'm shaking to generate energy.
Hay tres maneras de ver esto. Una es yo estoy sacudiendo para generar energía.
So this is inspired by what Bill said earlier, right? If you are feeling flat or sleepy and you want to bring your energy and awareness up.
Ujú. Esto es inspirado en lo que dijo Bill antes, que se sentía un poco adormecido. Si quieres subir tu energía un poco.
And then the second option is to discharge energy, to release it. So if you're feeling anxious or you feel like you've got too much going on, this will release it.
Ujú. Y la segunda opción es si te sientes muy cargado y necesitas descargar energía, esto te puede ayudar a hacerlo.
And then the third option is to think of yourself and your body as a conduit or a channel. So there's infinite energy in the world and you can let it come in and through you, coming in and out.
Ujú. Y la tercera manera de verlo es que tú eres un canal, que la energía viene del universo, viene hacia ti en tu cuerpo.
So the most basic way is to just kind of bounce with both knees or both shoulders, just to start to get the energy moving. It's also really simple to shake out your hands.
La manera más fácil de empezar es solo rebotar tus rodillas y tus hombros, o también solo puedes sacudir tus manos.
And then there's the opposite arm, opposite leg. So I might bend and straighten opposite knees or do a running motion with my arms.
Y también hay el brazo puesto y pierna puesta, entonces haces unos pequeños rebotes de un lado al otro.
And just notice if there any part of you that is holding against the shaking and not participating. And can you let that part of you participate in the shaking?
Y solo nota si hay una parte de tu cuerpo que está resistiéndose al ejercicio de sacudir y si hay una manera en la que esa resistencia pueda derretirse un poco.
And then you let the shaking cause the shaking, right? Instead of you causing the shaking, you let the shaking cause the shaking and see where it wants to go.
Ujú. Y solo deja que el mismo movimiento de sacudir cause el sacudirse más en vez de tú querer sacudirte más.
Take a big breath in and out.
Toma un gran respiro, inhalo y exhalo.
And I don't know where everyone is, but if you have children in the room, it's fun to make sound. Like that.
Y no sé en dónde estés, pero si hay un niño o niña en donde estás, hacer sonidos puede ser muy divertido también para ellos.
Or if you're with colleagues you trust, then be a kid yourself and make the noise anyway.
O si estás con compañeros de trabajo, puedes hacer el sonido de todas maneras.
And letting that go.
Y
And just
déjalo ir.
noticing if you feel any different than when you started.
Y solo nota si te sientes un poco diferente a como empezaste.
So thank you for practicing with me, whatever form that took, whether it was watching, laughing, or shaking.
Muchas gracias por participar con nosotros de cualquiera forma que participaste, ya haya sido riéndote, sacudiendo o solo observando.
So every time we tried to make a title for this, or I tried to make a title for this presentation as an English speaker with very little Spanish, all of my fancy English alliteration or 3 words that started with a B came apart when I went to translate it. And in discussion with Giselle, we really came to this concept of wholeness and realized that there isn't maybe a direct translation. So do you want to talk about that a little bit, Giselle?
Sí, siempre que cuando estuvimos discutiendo el título de esta presentación, sobre todo Jess, con el juego de palabras que estaba haciendo, se daba cuenta de que con su poco español, a la hora de traducirlo, era muy diferente. Entonces, mientras estábamos en esta investigación, nos dimos cuenta que una traducción para la palabra wholeness realmente no existía como tal en español. Oh, yeah, okay, so do you want, okay, got it. So I'm going to talk a little bit in English and Spanish. So yeah, the word wholeness, at least how I understand it, it involves so many things that in Spanish, it took us to understand it as these 3 words mainly, that is unity, integrity, and totality. Entonces, cuando encontramos esa idea de cómo incorporar esta o como llenar lo que significa la palabra wholeness, nos dimos cuenta que tal vez la palabra unidad, integridad y totalidad juntas podían de alguna manera como entender la integridad de la palabra wholeness en inglés. And that's something that we discovered too with other words around our journey to find a title and to do some research around this topic.
Yeah, and it's also the messiness of translation and the messiness of a rehearsal process and a creative process where translation is required has been central to the dance that we're making together.
Y la imperfección de la traducción ha sido una parte esencial del trabajo que estamos haciendo juntos. Entender que hay palabras que no significan exactamente lo mismo, pero que de alguna manera juegan un juego en el que podemos entender como diferentes mundos ha sido parte esencial del trabajo.
So just as Bill said earlier, I'm also really fast moving. Giselle can tell you that I'm really fast moving, and Giselle is a wonderful compliment. I adore being in her presence because she does slow me down, and we just wanted to include this quote at the beginning of this beautiful photo of Giselle and what feels like slowness to me.
Sí, Jess, al igual que Bill, entiende y también siente que ella tiene un ritmo rápido y de alguna manera se siente agradecida que podamos colaborar juntas porque es un muy gran balance de ritmo y velocidad. La cita dice, cuando hay tiempos urgentes es bueno ir despacio. And I'm gonna transition into talking a little bit about biodynamic craniosacral therapy. And I think just a great transition is this idea of slowing down. One of the main ideas of this work is really understanding how the rhythm of life that we have today of going faster is actually something that it's harmful for us as humans and as beings in the world. So just essentially, I wanted to share some of the things that are in a way the essence of biodynamic craniosacral therapy. We as practitioners, part of a session it's like we offer a really gentle, non-manipulative touch with the aim to engage with the expression of health in the system and bring it back into balance. So we as practitioners, we offer stillness, we offer space, and we offer a really deep listening to allow the body of the client to orient to their resources and the environment in present time with the intention to slow down stress responses that, as we know, can cause a lot of physical, emotional, psychological, and energetic imbalances. And basically it works amazingly and really beautifully with the nervous system. La terapia craneosacral biodinámica se enfoca en apoyar la salud inherente del ser humano. Es una terapia que ofrece un toque gentil al cliente para poder conectar con la expresión de la salud en el sistema y traerlo de vuelta a un equilibrio natural. Se ofrece quietud, espacio y una escucha profunda para que el cuerpo se oriente a sus recursos de salud y al ambiente en el tiempo presente, con el fin de reducir las respuestas de estrés y trauma que causan una gran variedad de desequilibrios físicos, emocionales, psicológicos y energéticos. La palabra biodinámica, the word biodynamic, basically in craniosacral therapy, does not come from Rudolf Steiner. Rudolf Steiner is the one that first talked about biodynamic, and biodynamic in Rudolf Steiner work talks about the wholeness, working with the human being, working with the world as a whole. And although it does have a lot of influence, the word biodynamic in craniosacral comes from Gellus, that talks specifically about the embryological studies of humans and the movement within the movement of creation. La palabra.
Go ahead. You can go ahead and translate that, and then I'll add one thing.
La palabra biodinámica en la terapia craneosacral no viene específicamente de Rudolf Steiner. Rudolf Steiner fue la persona que habló primariamente sobre biodinámica, y biodinámica desde el lente de Rudolf Steiner nos enseña la idea de trabajar con el todo, la idea de trabajar con este sentido de unidad, integridad. Y aunque la terapia craneosacral está influenciada en el trabajo de Rudolf Steiner, también es mucho más específica al trabajo de Gellus, y que Gellus habla del proceso embriológico, de creación embriológica, del movimiento dentro del movimiento cuando nos estamos creando.
And so, for example, there's in Western allopathic medicine, there's often hyper specialization. And even if we talk about health and mental health as being separate things, like there would be body and then mental health. And so what is the model that looks at body and mind, for example, as differentiated but not separate? And in that it's part of a whole. So if I have a mental health issue, it actually could be a physical issue, physiological.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Lo que Jess está diciendo es que, por ejemplo, en la medicina occidental alopática podemos observar como esta idea de que la medicina se enfoca normalmente en un solo problema. Entonces esta idea de tener como la idea de la unidad, de la integridad del ser humano como el todo, puede incluir esta idea de cómo un problema mental puede causar un problema físico en el cuerpo. Yeah, this has been really like a key for my formation as a therapist. As I was saying, like we orient to the original health, and the original health in craniosacral therapy, we talked about the inherent wisdom of the body, the inherent intelligence in the body. And this inherent intelligence, it's the original health, and we hold the idea that the same energy that created you is the same energy that heals you. So this appreciation for the inherent intelligence in the embryologic process, it's what holds our original health. So we as practitioners are tapping into that original health, because health never leaves the body. So focusing a therapeutic process in health, it's quite different to what we could be really related to, but it's this idea of relating it to the whole. La idea de que como nosotros como terapias biodinámicos craneosacrales nos orientamos a la salud original y a la apreciación por la inteligencia inherente en el proceso embriológico. Y esto quiere decir que la misma energía que nos crea es la misma energía que nos sana. la salud nunca se pierde en el cuerpo. Hay maneras en las que podamos alejarnos un poco de ella por nuestras actividades físicas o por nuestras rutinas, pero la salud nunca se va del cuerpo. I think I was sharing that at the beginning of this slide, but stillness, space, and deep listening, that's basically what it sounds in a way like easy, but it requires a lot of skill and a lot of practice to actually being able to hold a space of stillness, space, and deep listening for someone else. Entonces creo que lo mencioné al principio de esta presentación, pero justo esta base de quietud, espacio y escucha profunda es algo que nosotros como terapeutas sostenemos para el proceso de sanación de alguien más. So in this idea of slowing down, I wanted to invite you to like a little experiential exercise. And as always, like experiential exercise can be difficult for some of us. So these three ideas of comfort, breath, and gratitude, it's something that I want to invite you to go back in case you get lost in this experience, just to find comfort in your body. What can you do to be more comfortable? That can be a really good anchor. Another anchor is just connecting to your breath, going to your inhalation and your exhalation, noticing the temperature of the air coming in on your inhalation and the temperature of the air coming out of your exhalation. And just holding a really spaceful space for gratitude. Nothing else is needed but just that. And if any of these exercise you get lost or everything, just go back to these three anchors. So I want to invite you to take a deep breath first. Let's just take a deep breath, finding a little bit of stillness in our day. And place your hands on your thighs, just comfortably in your thighs. If you're sitting down, if you have access to it. If your hands are not available, you can just put any part of your limbs closer to your torso. And I want to invite you to close your eyes. If closing your eyes is not something comfortable for you, I would invite you to just bring your awareness down and look to the floor. Vamos a hacer un pequeño ejercicio de experiencia en donde te quiero invitar que solo tomes un respiro, inhalo y exhalo, y ponemos las manos en nuestras piernas. Gentilmente, we're just really gentle, putting our hands in our thighs. Breathing. Te quiero invitar a que cierres los ojos si eso es cómodo para ti. Si no te sientes cómodo cerrando los ojos, te invito a que solo veas hacia abajo, una mirada hacia adentro. Puedes ver hacia el piso. So just coming to an awareness of the sensations on the palms of your hands. Have an intention of feeling the tissue layers under your hands. Sintiendo, solo permite sentirte lo que está pasando en tus manos. Sintiendo la piel de tus manos tocando la piel o la ropa, the texture of the clothes that you're wearing on your hands. So perhaps you get a sense of continuity. The skin structure, it just goes out in all directions. It covers the whole body. Tu piel cubre todo tu cuerpo. Embryologically, the skin is deeply related to our nervous system, coming from the same germ layer. Tu piel es uno de los órganos más continuos y grandes y es una de las redes más grandes de tejido conectivo. Now, let your awareness through your body, just let it cascade like a big fluid. Let your awareness through your body as if your awareness is un flujo, solo un flujo. Imagine it's a calm waterfall. Y deja que tu atención vaya de tu cabeza abajo a tus pies. Let your awareness cascade down through the head, down into your torso, down into your upper limbs, y más abajo a tus pies. And see if you can reach a sense of your whole body. Veamos si puedes encontrar y sentir todo tu cuerpo al mismo tiempo. Then just spend time exploring within the whole body, each of the individual areas and regions. Tal vez notas algunos lugares que se sienten particularmente bien. Maybe you will notice that some places feel particularly good. It could be a hand, it could be a finger, it could be a nail. They make you feel light, te hacen sentir ligero. Spacious, te hacen sentir espacio. It could be an eyelash. They make you feel warm, te hace sentir cómodo, calientito, vivo. They make you feel healthy, te hacen sentir saludable. You perhaps will also notice places in your body that they either feel neutral or they make you feel uneasy. Te hacen sentir tal vez pesado. Tal vez ves lugares que, a diferencia de los lugares que te hacen sentir espaciosos, te hacen sentir pesado, inquieto. Your mind becomes disturbed. Now come back to the places of health. Let your awareness reside in them. Observa y si puedes encontrar el lugar más saludable en tu cuerpo y quédate en él por unos minutos. Don't forget to breathe. See if you can find the healthiest place in your body and be with that for a few minutes. You perhaps notice that the glow of health starts to spread and all the healthy places start to link up quite naturally. Tal vez todos los lugares que encontraste saludables en tu cuerpo empiezan a esparcirse y conectarse el uno con el otro. And the body as a whole starts to be affected by these places of health. Now take a deep breath. Solo notando cómo se siente tu cuerpo en este momento. Just noticing if something changed. Great. Thank you for your attention. Let's gently open our eyes, really gently. Yeah, just here now that you're back on the Zoom meeting, on this room, just noticing how you're present and you're in this room with us, and see if there's any difference in your sense and felt sense. Thank you.
Gracias, Giselle. That's beautiful.
So just talking a little bit about biodynamic craniosacral therapy, hablando un poco de dónde viene la terapia craniosacral biodinámica. It comes from osteopathy, viene de la osteopatía. As we know, the main creator of osteopathy, A.T. Still, Andrew Still, we now know that he had a big relationship with healers of Cherokee and Shawnee community, and therefore osteopathy and biodynamic craniosacral therapy would not exist without the influence of Cherokee and Shawnee healers. La terapia craniosacral viene de la osteopatía y, como sabemos, el padre de la osteopatía, Andrew Still, tenía una relación íntima con sanadores Cherokee Shawnee, por lo tanto sabemos que la terapia craniosacral y la osteopatía no sería lo que es el día de hoy sin la inspiración de los sanadores de esta comunidad. And Andrew Still, the osteopathy, then Sutherland was the one that started to study it more in depth, the rhythms of the cranium and the sacrum movement. And we also talk about craniosacral, talking about the other definition of parasympathetic system, because craniosacral really knows how to regulate and go back to a parasympathetic state in a gentle way. So Sutherland hizo muchas investigaciones. Sutherland made a lot of investigations and research around the movement of the bones of the cranium. So then after Sutherland, the branches that came down was James Jealous, Rollin Becker, and John Obleger, dividing craniosacral therapy into a biodynamic craniosacral therapy, main directed by James Jealous and Rollin Becker, and John Obleger took the lead of mechanical craniosacral therapy. Entonces, la terapia craniosacral, después de que Sutherland hizo los estudios acerca de los ritmos del cráneo y del cráneo sacral y de los movimientos de los huesos del cráneo, se hizo una ramificación en donde James Jealous y Rollin Becker tomaron como la ruta de la terapia craniosacral biodinámica, y John Obleger tomó la ruta de mecánica. So that's just to give you like a really, really, really short and simple of the names and people that in the lineage that I'm coming from with craniosacral biodynamic craniosacral therapy.
So we're going to shift in these last minutes into the piece that we're working on, and it's still in the early stages. I love the Cesar Cruz quote.
Vamos a hablar un poco sobre.
Go ahead.
Vamos a hablar un poco sobre el trabajo que estamos haciendo y estamos trabajando ahora, y a Jess le gusta mucho esta frase de Cesar Cruz.
I chose this photo because it's a photo of me shaking in performance while singing in a microphone, and I like it because it really blurs the borders of what is me and not me, what is human and what is the space, the context that we're in.
Le gusta mucho esta fotografía porque es una foto de ella sacudiendo y cantando en un micrófono, pero la fotografía quita todas las fronteras y límites de su cuerpo.
So the piece is called Portal, and or Portal, and this happened because I started this piece before the pandemic, and then when the lockdowns happened, it was a solo, and I was being directed by my collaborator. And when the lockdowns happened, I had this moment of wanting to be with people more than ever. And I just tried to expand my brain to what is possible via Zoom. And Giselle was one of the first dancers that came to mind that I met in Tijuana maybe 5 years ago.
La pieza se llama Portal, y la razón por la que este nombre vino a la mente de Jess es porque esta pieza Jess la empezó a crear desde antes de la pandemia. Y justo cuando la pandemia empezó, a ella le dio una urgencia y un deseo de estar con gente más que nunca. Entonces se acercó a gente con la que quería trabajar desde hace mucho tiempo y que nunca había tenido oportunidad de, y gracias a este portal tecnológico se pudo hacer posible.
Actually the second, because Sandra was the first. But Sandra Briseda Brianna, and all of a sudden I realized that all of the dancers that I really wanted to be working with all had some relation to the US-Mexico border.
Ujú. Esta es la primera persona que se incluyó en este trabajo, fue una persona llamada Sandra, luego yo, Gise, Briseida y Brianna, y lo que hicimos fue, Jess se dio cuenta de que una de las relaciones que hay con todo el cast y con toda la gente que está en esta obra es que hay una relación con la frontera de México y Estados Unidos.
And the work was already an extension of my work around embodying contradiction and paradox and opposites. And how can you hold all of those things at once that seem separate or seem completely at odds with one another? So the border piece emerged from our practices together.
Entonces, esta pieza, desde la investigación de Jess, ya venía con una idea de entender y como ver cómo podemos evitar las contradicciones y las paradojas y estar en ellas. Entonces, este tema de la frontera fue algo que se dio muy orgánicamente.
And so some of the practices that we did on Zoom together are authentic movement, which is a moving from impulse without any responsibility, allowing unconscious movement to become conscious and having witnessing each other in this process.
Entonces, una de las herramientas que usamos para estos encuentros en Zoom fue Movimiento Auténtico, que es una herramienta que usamos desde el impulso y hay un testigo observando.
I put all of these up because I just realized I wanted to have the Spanish up at the same time. So the other piece is that authentic movement is also used a lot in therapeutic settings, equally in dance and in therapeutic settings. And other somatic approaches, which I would describe biodynamic craniosacral as a somatic approach as well, which means it's the experience of the human body rather than the objectification of the human body is the simplest way to define it.
Entonces, lo interesante también de movimiento auténtico es que es usado igualmente en un ambiente de terapia y también en un ambiente creativo. Entonces, una de las razones por las que nos gusta usarlo es porque hay una gran diferencia en no usar al cuerpo como objeto, sino como un fin en sí mismo.
And I was also continuing the work of Deborah Hay. She creates choreographic questions that are to be asked with the cellular body. So when we dance with every cell in our bodies.
Entonces también estaba usando las herramientas de la coreógrafa Deborah Hay y cuando usamos el cuerpo lo usamos con todas las células.
So we just have a few minutes left and I really want us to do this little section. So do you think you can jump up and do that little? So we're going to just work with one of the baseline scores that we've been working with in the piece. We didn't want to tell you beforehand, but because we're having limited time, you probably read it on the slide because I gave it away. So, but I would encourage you to not try and we're just going to do 2 minutes, just say,
Okay.
to not try and figure out what this dance is about, but to just track your experience as you watch us dancing it for these last few moments. So that music was Gustavo Santaolalla. Close.
La
I've been
música fue
practicing.
de Gustavo Santaolalla.
Yeah, so we're at 1:30. I wanted to leave space for questions, but you can throw some cute questions in if you want to, but otherwise, so that at least they're in space. But otherwise, that's a little piece of what we're working on. Hi, Noemi.
I don't see any questions, but I do see that Linda Sotelo has her hand up. So
Okay. So do you need to unmute her?
I think she was just unmuted. It says talking permitted.
Hi, Linda.
Can we actually have Linda ask her question in the Q&A section, please?
I think that Linda just disappeared, so maybe it was a mistake.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't see her
I
anymore.
don't see any other questions.
Okay. I wish I could see faces. Hi, good to see your face, Bill.
Thank
Thank you,
That was
everyone,
beautiful.
for
That was
being here. Yeah, thanks, Bill. And thanks for your
Gracias.
presentation too.
Mhm.
Thank you, Jose. I want to give you
Gracias,
extra
Sis.
props because that was amazing to see you go back and forth from presenter to translator. It was really beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
was
gracias,
really-
gracias.
really amazing. Thank you.
Gracias, Bill.
Mhm.
Thank you.